Joshua Rudolph.
My name is Chance Jones, and we are representing Johnson Middle School.
Today we will be talking about Hernando de Soto's tremendous leadership and very mixed legacy and how that affected our home county, Manatee, and the state of Florida.
Hernando de Soto was born in Barcarota, Spain. He was born on October 27th, 1496. According to multiple sites, he was born to explore. He explored the area he lived in for a living, and he probably did something else for money wages. He came from a poor part of Spain, but in that part of Spain, his family was considered rich. For the rest of the world, they were poor. His family was a noble family, so the king himself wanted to pick him because he showed such a great role model for the conquistadors to lead, for them to be led by. Even though he wasn't a superhero, he was able to leave a major mark. Later on in his life, he was assigned by his king to explore the new continent discovered, La Florida. He was given resources and money by the king and troops to hire mercenaries and the troops to fight for him if the Indians attacked. And so he went off. He went to Cuba to meet with his mentor to train to be able to use the best battle tactics for his army and to fight the best way he possibly could. He brought over many different offenses and defenses. He brought over 270 cavalrymen, 330 ground troops consisting of mercenaries, hired assassins, craftsmen, and normal army men that were given to him by the king. He brought over an assortment of weapons. Most of the weapons he brought are featured here. He had many native tribes to go up against, so he needed to have the best of the best troops and the best of the best weaponry he could get. When he got there, he had big troubles in the swamps and with navigation. Because of this, it led for major troubles when he was going up against tribes and when they were tracking him. They were able to track him easily because they knew where they were, but his troops were able to get lost. So that's why instead of killing everybody in the tribe, they might have captured some to be slaves and guide them through the swamps. The Appalachians, though, were a big problem to them on the account of they ambushed them in the swamps they had no direction to. They either targeted guides or smaller groups of his army as to pick off his army in total. But when they found their base camp, their plan was thwarted. They were in no shape to be attacked because right now their troops were looking for where their troop was, for where his army was, because they had moved overnight. He was able to defeat the tribe on account of the assassins that most of the assassins of the tribe were gone. And so he was able to defeat the Appalachians, which to him was one less nuisance around. And so he was able to set up many gold mines in Florida, in the land he captured. But then there came word about more gold in the southern eastern part of North America. He wanted the gold. So when he was venturing over there, he came across the Mississippi. He ended up dying at the Mississippi. This is the Ana Mendez. The Spaniards and conquistadors used this to get from mainland to their fleet. This boat comes equipped with a cannon, unlike the Indians.
This indigenous cutout canoe made by the American natives is a great example of their technology that they had at the time.
He left a big and short impact. One of the shorter impacts is this nature trail. He had left this trail. It is not natural, We ourselves, though, have modified it and placed decorations of what his troops may have looked like when they were trailing through here. He brought over pigs, which made for an invasive species which tore down a lot of plant life and are still doing it today. He also slaughtered many Native American tribes. But if they didn't die and he either took them as a slave or left them at their home to die, they either died from sickness, starvation, dehydration, or something else. He had elite war dogs to hunt down Indians in the swamp if it got too thick for him. So if they didn't escape Florida as soon as they heard Hernando de Soto was coming, they either died or were hunted down by war dogs, or they made it out just before he could get to them. So he left a big impact by having almost zero Native Americans where he had explored or gone.
Decimate the population about 90%. So you go from a population of almost 20 million people down to a population of a few 100,000.
Hernando de Soto also, at this time, created the first chronicles and the first maps of Florida.
De Soto, not meaning to, but De Soto brings along chroniclers, people that write. They're going to write down everything that happened on this expedition. We have at least 3 chroniclers that do make it back to Spain. Their written accounts come to us. We call them now De Soto's Chronicles. But they were eyewitness accounts of this expedition, which gives us modern-day historians and archaeologists a kind of look, a window back 500 years ago. We get an idea of what the natives looked like, how they dressed, how they acted, how some of their customs and cultures. We also get a view of what America looked like before it changed with all these people coming here.
In this part of Hernando de Soto's expedition, he has killed many Indians and left few tribes in the area to die from disease, and the Indian tribes that did survive fled the area in fear.
Leadership to me is a person who gives people training, physical resources, spiritual resources, education, motivation, and financial resources. The most important of these is the motivation, or otherwise known as the goal. Hernando de Soto showed all of these qualities, especially motivation, because he led a group of hundreds of people through stinky, mosquito-infested swamps that had Indians in them, and they were loyal to Hernando de Soto till he died. And while he was still alive, they covered 1/3 of the United States.
Had left his legacy in many different ways, both in trails, in what we do today, many businesses, and even 2 counties in Florida have been named after him. Hernando County and De Soto County. He was able to bring down the orange tree, which is now the state tree. It is not an invasive species because it fits in almost perfectly with the environment. The pigs he brought over, however, have destroyed the environment. They tear up ground, eat plants, unearth roots to plants before they can even sprout. We are very thankful to have the United States National Hernando de Soto Nature Trail.
We want to thank them for their generosity and giving us the information we need to tape and finish our documentary.